Uh, Welcome to our webinar with a topic of how to manage tech debt and deliver value amidst a tight deadline. So today we are talking a lot of about tech debts, legacy and modernization, while still delivering value. We will start with introducing ourselves. I will start by myself. I'm Mateusz Konieczny, technical advocate, technical advisor in 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗻, with several dozen years of modernizing legacy applications and dealing with still delivering value while I would like to create a code as a state of art, but it's not always possible. Today I welcome Aleksandra Gepert, who is head of delivery in 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗻.
Shall I already introduce myself?
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay. Hi. So as said, my name is Ola, and I'm involved in project management for 11 years and strictly in IT 7 years. I believe in a principle that merging the people and splitting the software actually works, and the good analysis will save you several months of not necessary development. I'm actually the person that is always asking these questions that nobody wants to answer. And I'm trying to bring to light the problems that are swept under the rug. And that's actually it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. And I welcome Tomasz Grażyński, head of quality assurance.
Hello. So yeah, as Mateusz said, I'm Tomek, and yeah, I have around 12 years of experience in software testing. Yeah, and I believe that quality means that we have happy end users, that we solve their problems, and they are the key to the software success. Yeah, and I try to balance that happy users together with keeping the product team happy and aware of business problems, so they're keen and able to develop code according to the best practices, which is a crucial part of the software of good quality. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So just as a reminder, today we are going to talk about tech debt and delivering value. Shortly speaking, we'll talk about tech debt, its origins, symptoms, how we can just try to measure it, how we can decide, make proper decisions based on tech debt and still deliver a value. Because of course we have deadlines, we have to deliver value for clients. So how to properly manage and prioritize tech debt. But I will start with a very simple question to you guys, which is, what do you consider as a tech debt?
Aleksandra, you go first, or should I?
You can go first.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so tech debt. Yeah, so what we can consider as tech debt. So there are like multiple things which show you that there is tech debt. So for sure, I consider, for example, pure developer experience. So when developers have some, I would say, they're not happy with what they do. They're not happy with the code they work. I would say that's already tech debt. Yeah, another thing is also tech debt in testing. So if we lack tests or our tests don't bring value, or we are not happy with tests because they don't find bugs, but they're hard to maintain, then it's also tech debt. It's from the other side, the tech debt in tech debt of tests, but that's also the project tech debt. Yeah, I think also tech debt is when developers and the team is afraid of changes, so they are not sure if the changes they introduce, if they don't break things. So when there are areas which they are afraid of touching, which where changes in they estimate very high, I think that's also considered as tech debt. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. That's strictly technical perspective from my experience, yeah. But also when we talk about the tech debt, is actually every project has it, yeah. whenever you are putting the first commit, you are already starting this path of, making some debt, and you will have to pay it sooner or later. And we are paying it in different ways, let's say, yeah. But with my experience, because I worked in 2 startups, I could see this definition of tech debt that was even introduced to me, because I was actually asking like board of directors or CEO, like, hey guys, can you tell us how our company works? And they used to say that we were founded on an idea, and this idea was when we had to make decisions in order to deliver quickly the MVP. We took some decisions and we already created the debt. And when the product is going live, the tech debt is still there and is waiting to be paid in order to, fix some issues on the project, etc. So this was a strictly technical tech debt, but also all these decisions that are made when the company is founded, it's also a debt, yeah, because we want to deliver some product, and then we want to go to the market with it and get additional money when the stakes will be introduced, yeah. So when the stock market will be introduced, the company will be there. So I would say that these are like 2 possibilities to talk about the tech debt, especially in this startup industry, I would say. Yeah, but fully agree with Tomasz, and I actually always see development teams that are not so happy, yeah, because they see some parts of the product or the project that are not so great, not shiny, and they would like to start over. Yeah, so it's always there.
Yeah, I think that's also worth to mention, and we should start with that tech debt, the name is not considered as a debt. You need to pay the debt, but you also need to pay additional fees for that. Yeah, and the longer you keep it, it costs you more time and money to have it, and that's why we need to have it like as minimum as possible. Yeah, just to save the time and money.
Yeah, that's true.
And as you can see, it's quite contextual. I really often go to legacy definition, considering tech debt, and it's very simple because in my definition, it's the code I need to change, and I really struggle to understand it. So what it means, the tech debt appears when I really need to change a part of code, not adding a new code, for example, it's just changing an existing code, and I have a problem to change it because the different reasons. I cannot understand it. I cannot understand the concept, architecture, or maybe it's just badly written. But this change is always basically inevitable because businesses always change. It's like change is inevitable. So when project starts, actually we are dealing already with legacy. Business is learning a lot of themselves. They change their decisions, so the code has to change. And at any part of time, it's like it's inevitable that we have to deal with something we do not understand something, or we don't know something because team changes. Someone mentioned that tech debt. I will show that begins when a project is taken over by another agency. They need to understand it one more time, delve into details, and it's when that appears. But just jumping to the next question is actually when tech debt basically starts. What do you think?
Yeah, as said, sorry, Tomasz.
Go on.
As said, with the first commit, yeah. And my actually, what I said before was more answer to this question, I believe. So whenever we start doing something, we are already creating this debt, simply because we don't know when we will be in like 2-3 months or years from now. Yeah, this like you said, understanding the business case also takes time, and we are actually learning as we are doing it. Yeah, because there is no possibility to create a system that will answer all the end users' needs without making mistakes. Yeah.
I think it's also when when you see that your assumptions were incorrect when you started the project, you now understand that you already have tech debt because assumptions changed. There were decisions made based on those assumptions, and they are now incorrect. So when you see that, then there's a moment to think about, okay, how I do it now, and maybe adjust the current project to that form, because the base on which you made decisions has changed. Also, when it's very common for startups, when you have no time for a factor, when you have no time to adjust the code for new requirements which are changing, then that's also tech debt, because you just putting things aside, and that involves, for example, to comments added. Okay, let's do it later. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, let's comment out that code. A lot of many small things, which later end up, like Mateusz said. Okay, so now I have local code, and I have problems with understanding because there are so many hacks there, so many different things. Part of code is commented out, and yeah, that's actually where the tech debt starts. Also, the one thing which is very common in projects, especially smaller ones, is that teams, product owners, business lines, they're putting aside non-functional requirements and then implement them quickly in a sloppy way when there's such a need. For example, performance, they do some hacks to improve performance, or to satisfy the greater number of users or the greater interests, and such things should be analyzed first and then taken into account when during the first phase of project. So when we create architecture, and then we can like adjust the code, adjust its base to those non-functional requirements, instead of trying to fit or hack somehow our application just to satisfy the current needs.
Yeah, and I really like to also create, let's say, concept why this tech debt appears for me. It's always when communication somehow fails. What I mean by it is basically, if anywhere in business or communicating by business to the team or in team itself, communication is broken, is not well described what we are going to change, what we are going to deliver, this tech debt will appear because we do not understand what we actually need to do, and there is no given actual when we know that our changes are correct. So basically, in any form, it's like business decisions, even code itself is a form of communication. It means that somehow communication is failing and something has to be improved. You mentioned already some of symptoms, but if I would ask you to give more symptoms of appearing tech debt, what would you list?
Okay, so maybe I will start from my perspective, yeah, because I'm a PM, I'm not a technical person. So whenever I'm entering a new project and I could hear how the team is describing any kind of stuff, yeah. First of all, they are always consistent about complaining about one thing in the system that is so bad. They always refer to it as, big black hole, crap, or I don't want to touch this, whatever. And also there is, when I ask for like, okay guys, how long it will take, they refer to it as, again, like, we can't tell you how long it will take because it is related with this and that. It means that the estimate, you can put all out whatever you want because still it will not be delivered on time. Then the time to market is awfully long. Like, let's say that when I was again working in a startup, the product team was coming to us and saying, look guys, we need to implement this. This is compliance stuff. It's really important. It needs to be done ASAP. And our ASAP was 2 months. It's not ASAP. It's just a normal cycle of work. Yeah. Normal. Yeah. And already said, when I see like a big discrepancy between what we estimate and what we have, it also means for me that we seriously have this problem. Yeah. What about you, Tomek?
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that problems with estimates, especially like bigger changes, is a symptom of a tech debt, because, like you said, there are like holes in the system which nobody wants to touch. Also, this involves like later when those changes are introduced, usually they end up with issues with completely different areas of the system. So when you see that there are some unexpected issues in areas which weren't touched, for example, during the last iteration, then it means that something is wrong. Okay, so that if you touch like one module but two others are broken, okay, that something is wrong. There's a tag that which we need to solve because they should be separated well. Yeah. Another thing is it's also related to developer experience. So if there are issues with running the application in local environment, like for example, introducing new people to the project and it takes like weeks, then maybe that's also something wrong. Because it means that if the running of the application is complex, that means that the application is complex. And maybe it doesn't need that. Maybe it can be, maybe there are easy ways to handle that. Yeah, and I think we also mentioned a few other symptoms like tests that don't provide value for the team, or like commented out code. These are also clear symptoms of the tech debt. They're also like if you see that the team doesn't follow the best practices, like for example, they don't have continuous integration system, or or they're missing tools, for example, static analysis. And that's also because it means they could be introduced, but if there's no automated feature which takes care of code quality, then probably that the quality of the code is not so good as it should be.
Yeah, and I see that Jakub also mentioned about inexperienced teams and not having excellent knowledge also impacts to have a bigger tech debt. And yeah, you already mentioned about time to market, about estimates. So for sure, this is next factor that impacts tech debt. And let's say I have this great principle that is very often used in terms of estimates. It's Parkinson law, which states work expands to fill time available for its completion. So basically speaking, if we have 2 months time to deliver something, we will just spend 2 months. And my question to you, how does it really impact tech debt? Because you mentioned that, okay, let's say we have some time to deliver something. So in that time, how much time we can spend on bearing tech debt, on solving those issues, whether we can somehow define those numbers, we can manage it somehow. How do you see this problem?
Yeah, I think you answered that, because if we have time for managing tech debt, so for example, you have 2 months for a feature and then we finish it within 1 month, maybe we can just reduce the tech debt in that time. And there's like this, for example, the 𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗏 rule. So if you touch the piece of code and you see that there is a tag debt in there, or there is a to-do comment, okay, so maybe I have time to do that now because I'm already there. I understand that part of code. Maybe I can improve it. Maybe I can fix that part of tag debt. And that's quite a good rule to just make small improvements. But if we do it often, then we actively reduce the tech debt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can actually count in some like percentage of the time that we need to spend to implement something. You can add like 20% and let's use it for a technical debt. But this is not something that development teams like, in my experience, yeah, because they always tend to say that, no, Ola, you don't understand. We need like a full stop. We can't do anything right now. We need to freeze the code. And it will never gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I was even a part of this inside projects, and they never succeeded because we speak about time and I would say that during implementation, anyway, we are burning a lot of time. Yeah, like you said before, Mateusz, communication is a key. So sometimes even agreeing on the next steps takes people like 4 hours. Yeah, to make some decisions. So actually, we need to understand where we want to put our money in, and then we can define what kind of timeline we have for paying this debt. Yeah, or with dealing with the dealing part, how much time it will take, because we don't pay the debt, we are just dealing with some problems. Yeah, let's say like this. So it's not easy question. Yeah, and there is no one answer to that. It depends, of course. Yeah, like Tomek's favorite saying. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, but you mentioned communication. I think communicating risk related to not paid tech debt is a key also, because when the business will get the clear clear information that if we no longer fix that part, for example, the performance issues, then there will be a moment when they will lose a lot of money because the application won't work anymore. So that's also part of communication, just to highlight the risks, and also it's good to come up with a plan how to mitigate that risk, with a plan. Okay, how we can handle that, how we can like maybe do a refactor, maybe do a partial refactor. Yeah, the easiest is, like you said, just stop everything and just do a big refactor for a couple of months or even years. But that's hard to achieve. So it's better to have that understanding of growing tech debt before, and just start paying it off earlier than later.
Yeah. Well, business is always focused on money. This is why we actually do projects, because they want to deliver, of course, value and like make end users happy. But in the end, the founders would like to have some money back, which is normal. Yeah. But exactly like you said, like if you will tell somebody that, hey, we need this and this to do this and this, otherwise you will be, I don't know, pay additional 20% of the estimate to deal with this problem, because we all the time need to do some workaround. Yeah. But when you will say that it will cost you actually $20,000 if you will not do it, it's easier to get the buy-in from the business, because they don't care about how ugly the data schema is or how bad this code is. Like if you will go to them and say, look, we have spaghetti code all the time. Yeah, people are spending so much time trying to understand it, they doesn't really care. So you need to speak money with them always. Yeah, and make them accountable for making these decisions, because when you will say somebody from the product team, let's say, yeah, or the business side, like, hey, if we'll not do it, the time to market will be this and that. If you are okay with this, please approve, and we are moving forward. Otherwise, this will be a countless like war between business and technical people.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding common language with business, which is, like I said, money.
Yeah.
And impact on money. Yeah.
Yeah, and learning about, I would add, how we can measure some symptoms of technical debt in the code. There are many, for example, code smells. I really like talking about code smells. There are many of them, but I will just jump into one of the simplest ones, rigidity. And this is most of the easiest one to spot in project. It's when developer says it was easier, it was more complicated than I thought. And yeah, we just estimated something. He said, for example, 1 week, and after 1 week he says, I need one more week, and so on. This is the consequence, and how to deal with such a situation, which is quite often in projects when we are really bad in estimation because we didn't recognize that there is a part of code base that will impact another code bases, maybe even processes, some business changes that were not spotted at the first time. How do you communicate it to clients so we can just focus on on solving those problems and actually delivering value? It's not the easy question, I know.
No, it's not easy topic in general, right?
Yeah.
So be honest, like be transparent. Yeah, this is something that always worked for me. I mean, of course, the team, and it's even stated here that from Philip that clients actually often force the team to make like cheap solutions in order to get the solution fast. Yeah. So first of all, if you have something like this, just document it and put it as a risk, because this will lead to this and that. So the team always need to do proper analysis. I mean, it's very hard educating client in a way that, look, guys, really give us a week. We really need to refine it to give you proper answers. Otherwise, just jumping and doing the work will cost you more, because we'll have to refactor. We will constantly have issues in production, etc. So I would say that always proper analysis works for me, and making also clients understand how important analysis from the technical team is. Yeah. And the other thing is to be transparent. Even if we will fail, we made a wrong decision, it's better to admit it and say, look, these are the ways to deal with that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
from me.
the key is to propose like at least 2 ways. Okay, so we can do it cheap and fast, but that involves that we later need to do a refactor, or we need to improve that, or need to rewrite that, or we need to change that module to something else, and the total cost will be like that. And there's other way, so we can do it like quite longer, but we'll do it in proper way, and our estimate is like that. So then someone will have to make decision, and I think it's worth to spot the total cost of both, and also the implications. Okay, so what if I pick the cheapest version and I just ignore the second part? So also it's important to mention what will happen if we don't do it properly later.
I will jump to the question from comments. It's Philip's one, and isn't it a bit like that? It is that clients often force teams implement solutions into the cheapest working version, and when the client is pointed out that this will lead to a disaster, and when this actually happens, the dissatisfaction is redirected to the team. Question to you both. Yeah,
it is because we didn't do our homework, because we didn't do all this stuff that Tomek mentioned. So gathering the options, because we need to understand it. Of course, it depends if we are working in a company that is having multiple clients, like a third-party vendor that is doing the software, or we are working in a product company like inside it. So for the first option, the client is making that decision. It's so hard to actually accept that customer doesn't need everything. If we did our work, we gave all the information with all the implications, with all the risks, and they are still wanting a cheap solution, make them accountable for it. Yeah, it's not about finger pointing or blaming in the end. It's just about, guys, we communicated that, and you still took those risks and agreed to this way of work. Yeah, so whenever I see the client who is not happy with the team, I know that one thing failed. It was communication. Yeah, because it's if doing projects would be so easy, then anyone can do it, and there will be, we wouldn't be on this webinar actually, because there will be no problems. Yeah, but software development is learning. It's not learning only about what you need to do, but also learning about what I'm actually doing and what for. Yeah, and this is the way.
Yeah, we need to remember who's the owner of the software. So like the owner is the person, the company, the client who pays for that. But it's in our business to show that owner what he's paying for and what are the implications of saving money on this particular part, like tech debt. Yeah, so that's the matter of communication and matter of being clear in terms of tech debt. And also, I think it's worth to have that logged. So like if we see there are like areas which need to refactor, there's a tech debt in some areas of the code and the team is not happy with that, then just show it to client in reports, in backlog, in communication, in like daily stand-ups. Okay, we have like our estimate was wrong because we put aside some refactor some time ago. So that's also part of communication.
Yeah, I have one scenario from my past explaining also a little bit the situation. It's very similar one, but not the same. I had a situation that I delivered value feature to a client, and I mentioned that I need to write test cover it this feature, and he said, no, it takes time. It takes time, and just don't do it. I will take it. I will test it manually. And I said, no, okay, but you don't wanna test it always manually. And he said, I will. Okay. After a few months, he come back to me and asked whether there is any way to automate everything he does because it just took too much time. Yeah, and yeah, test
Sometimes you need
automation.
to check.
So yeah, so sometimes clients are not aware about tech debt in, let's say, in practice. I would say it's like they don't feel it that it's actual debt, that it's actually thing that has to be dealt with. And the point is that you always have to somehow show them why it impacts this code base, especially this product. So in fact, money. So why he or her is losing money, and when you are able to somehow show it, like in my case with tests, but it was a very simple one, then actually a client will just make another decision, just to, okay, let's go into some kind of refactorization, replanning, and let's a little bit deal with this problem. And
Yeah, I just wanted to say something maybe controversial a little, but it's always like this, that development team, they are quite picky. They would like to have like so beautiful project, like the greenfield project dream is there, and they are trying to reach it, like some kind of a reward, like Valhalla of software development. And it's not gonna happen. I mean, they also need to accept that some parts of the system will be maybe a little bit crappy, maybe not the best, but still serving the goal. So this is very hard sometimes because it's constant constant I don't want to say war because it's not a good word. It's constant tries of being on the same page with the technical people and with the business people. So at some point, it's not only client accepting the implications of the technical debt, it's also the team that, hey, this year, you're not gonna touch this particular area. I know that you hate it. I know that it's bad, but we need to deal with it. Yeah, so this is just
in real life, in real projects, you cannot like pay the tech debt to zero. There's always maybe some areas which are complex because that's why you created the software to solve the complex problem. And there always will be some complex areas. There always will be areas which are not perfect, but sometimes the investment of like putting time there to make it better may just not pay off. So sometimes the good enough is enough. And we need to have that in mind. And coming back to one thing which came to my mind is sometimes also the development team need to hide they proud once the client comes. Okay, so that was my wrong decision. So yeah, we need to just understand. Okay, yeah, we understand that. Let's solve that. Just not to be proud, and because it's their client, so we need to remember that we just work together on a common goal, and we don't have a war. Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't fight the client. We just cooperate with them.
Yeah, if you will change the perspective in a way that business flow is the most important part of the system, because business flow generates money. Yeah. Let's say this is a online shop, whatever. The business flow is actually when the person is entering the system and going to the checkout and actually paying money. Yeah, this is the business flow. So it's I don't want to say easy, because it's never easy, but the business flow needs to go without any disruptions, big disruptions. When you see disruptions, because the person, it's very hard to add some item to the cart if whatever, then it means that this part actually should be refactored as soon as possible, because the return of investment will be high. So still, business and money and all the metrics related with the checking if we are actually generating the revenue that we would like to generate with the system or the project, it's a good metric also for the technical stuff. Yeah, maybe it's hard, maybe it's not the most convenient truth, but it is. Yeah.
Yes, and we also need to remember that this business perspective is so important that sometimes clients are even aware about that we are going to generate tech debt, that we are going to make bad solutions. Startups are a perfect example, but I will just give another scenario, next scenario to the same scenario that I told a few minutes ago. When I was not reading tests because client said to do so. And the missing part of the story is that actually he gave a very good reason to do it, because we were trying to catch up with the market, with competitors, because we're really behind them. And then we were not going to write tests to make everything so perfect and so on. We had to deliver value the fast as possible. And that was the lack of communication. He didn't say that to us before. After a few months, he said that was the reason. But that now we are jumping exactly to the same point. The communication is the key. So talking about, or just maybe let's put it in this case. If we know everything about the business side, technical side, how everything impacts business, technical part, we can just deliver the proper decisions. And we have to be on the same page with the client, with the entire team. And when something is missing in communication, especially from client side, then we are not aware what decisions should be made. We are thinking, oh no, we are going to write a bad code. Yeah, but maybe we are just trying to catch up with the market, and we think, oh my God, the client just wants to have a cheapest solution ever. Yeah, but sometimes we don't know the reason, and sometimes we may ask whether there are really specific business decisions that makes us to do our code base, our solution, the way that client has chosen. Yeah, so I would just jump a little bit to the questions.
If I may,
yeah.
If I may just one thing to the previous topic is that when you see the history of startups, they always start with a huge tech debt. So they were coding like quick without tests, like for 3 months, 6 months. But once the idea, when the idea made a success product, then they focused on like doing the proper way. So they started like doing some refactors, of course, together with new functionalities. But still, they had to take care of the tech that they taken during the first stage of the product.
Yeah, exactly. And we said a little bit about it, but do you have more tips for just communicating with client properly? How to just just to recognize the problems we are dealing with and communicating to client. Do you have any practices, any ideas? What is the best way to talk with client in terms of managing tech debt that you have to pay it off?
Well, in terms of communicating with client, I think we have to, because you mentioned that communication works both ways. So also the client needs to communicate with us. And I think defining the rules of communication, like how often we do it, and like having a proper time for that is a key. Set agreement is a key both for success communication between the team and client. So we need to firstly have time, and second, we need to be open. We need to be open. We need to be honest, and just say the truth. And sometimes just show even like proof of our understanding, like first what will happen in what will happen if we don't pay the debt, so we can just simulate or show what will be the impact of like leaving the debt alone. So just showing the truth and just not lying. Okay, because there are teams which just say, okay, we'll do everything, and then they just don't deliver, and later how it goes. Later they just do it again and again, and that's not the proper communication. You just need to be honest. Okay, we are, for example, we are not able to deliver that in that time frame because of reasons like that. Instead of that, we can just maybe minimize the scope, deliver it later. But you need to be honest and manage the expectations, the client expectations, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would add to this only the educating part. Yeah, I already said that before, but you need to make this also client's problem. Yeah, because the technical debt was created because some decisions were made. And of course, in the rush when we really need to deliver something ASAP, the deadlines are chasing, just always put some data on the side at least. This is actually when the project manager can support the team, because it's not so easy to not forget. So the project manager will be preparing the reports, will be preparing the summaries, will be sending this information all the time, will be including into the risk register, dealing with it as a normal issue on the project. It's not something uncommon. It's something that all teams have, and this is not possible to not have the technical debt. So as said by Tomasz, the honesty and the tools you have is actually all kind of tools that you use for the proper project management. This is like not the only issue you will have on your project, I'm sure. Not only technical debt, there will be more. So just make the customer a part of the solution.
So also when you monitor the team, when you just provide metrics, for example, the delivery time or number of post-release bugs, all of those things, which may at first sight they look like, okay, that team became worse. It's not that the team became worse. Maybe the work is harder. Like that's not something you need to hide with. You can just show it. Okay, so we at this moment we started our delivery time increased, and why is that? So let's analyze the symptoms, and maybe tech debt may be one of them, and that may be the proof that tech debt is there and it's worth to fix. It's worth to get rid of it or reduce it.
Yeah, you have mentioned about metrics, and I'll ask you, are there any metrics that are really were describing tech debt? For example, let's jump a little bit into technical side. Are there any good metrics that may show where the tech debt lies, or when tech debt may impact delivering next value to a client? For example, I don't know, 𝗛𝗀𝘀𝘀, let's say, and some metrics that consider the health of code. Have you ever used it as an argument, and does it work?
Well, yeah, I used it, and it did work. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but yeah, it did work. So that was actually the simple analysis. You mentioned 𝗛𝗀𝘀𝘁. We used 𝗛𝗀𝘀𝘁. We defined the rules there, and we just monitored how the tech debt changes over the time. So if it was increasing, let's say on monthly basis, if it increased, then we need to analyze what happened, why it increased, and what we need to do to reduce it. And the other part was to actively reduce it. Okay, so let's see what areas generate the most of tech debt, and then create a plan of improving them. And that worked over time, but it wasn't like okay, it didn't fix the whole tech debt in like 1 month. It was the project. I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and we managed to reduce the part of tech debt, but yeah, it's still, the tech debt was still there. So that's one of metrics. Also, what it's worth to mention is that if you measure something, because you can measure everything, but if you measure something, just focus on things which you want to fix, which you want to like reduce or increase, depending on what you measure. But it's worth to stay focused on a couple of metrics which you want to fix, rather than measuring everything and trying to fix everything. So that's one of way that measure the tech debt, measure like software complexity, measure how many good practices we have in our project. So for example, do we have static analysis? Do we do proper code reviews? How many bugs come from production after the release? What's the user experience? Because the tech debt also that also impacts the user experience. So what's the user experience? Are the users happy with the software? And also there are like pure technical metrics. So how much resources our software needs to satisfy the user, and also like how much it will need to, how much it will cost to satisfy, like for example, double number of users. That's also form of measuring tech debt. And maybe if you see that, okay, if the number of users will increase twice, we'll need to pay like 10 times more for the hosting, for example, or for the transfer, then it's something wrong. Then there's something wrong, and now we need to take care of that, just not to be surprised, for example, in the next year.
Yeah, nothing actually from me, because no metric ever worked for me. Sorry. I mean, what Tomek mentioned, of course, is great, yeah. But sometimes you are. I was actually working in a project when we didn't even have time to introduce proper metrics to show the how big the problem is, yeah. So I would only add to that very good analysis of all the issues on production, yeah, how much money it costs and how we could avoid that, yeah. Because if constantly database is dying, well, you know what need to do. Then that would be the case to show to the client as a metric. And when it comes to the metrics themselves, it's another not easy topic, yeah, because whatever is easy to measure, most probably it will not bring you the value of understanding the problem. Yeah, how to measure how much technical debt we have. This is a very big initiative to actually introduce to the project, to show this to the stakeholders. It's a great idea to have it, but how to do it, how to measure it. Imagine you are constantly in these deadlines. Client is not happy, obviously. Yeah, that's why the pressure is so big. And you are there with no metrics. Like, you can go to Jira and show the burn down chart or something, but what difference does it make? Yeah, so I would say that establishing a metric to show the technical debt is already a way of paying it, preparing for it. Yeah, and for that you need to have a proper confirmation from the client. Okay, you can work on this, guys. Yeah, so this is from project management perspective, let's say. But of course, everything that Tomasz said, I would love to have it in every project I'm managing or ever managed.
That's what 𝗏𝗀 does, because of course it doesn't do it perfect, but when you just put the project there, you get a number. Okay, you have like 50 days of tech debt. It's of course like it doesn't provide you like the real value, but it's easy to compare, and then you can later just go on with that and translate it to your work days and just analyze how much time it will take to reduce it.
Yeah, metrics are usually a really big problem, because what I really say, a metrics has to be interpreted, and sometimes it's like, let's say we have some kind of complexity metric, which is saying our code has complexity 100. So what? And it doesn't. and let's say that we change a code and now we have 90. So what? And that's a problem, because that's what the clients doesn't understand. Don't understand, and this is a problem that actually metrics doesn't show where the problem lies. It's nice to have metrics. It's like, okay, we have less tech debt measured in days, like Tomasz said, but in fact the purpose is more important, that we are delivering faster, that we understand code, and that we understand code actually. And sometimes when you try to remove this tech debt, let's say, easy example, duplications, it's what everyone wants to get rid of. But sometimes you make code even more complex, and it's less understandable, and you deliver slower. Of course, everyone wants to fix a code, but sometimes we have reverse the negative effect, and this is what actually another law of Gotthard's law says, that when a measure becomes a target, it gets to be a good measure, because it's not the purpose. The purpose is just to deliver a value. That solving tech debt is something like, I would say, a side quest. It's something that helps us, but it's not something that sometimes client wants to know or understands. And there's a question that we partially discussed about it, about jumping to it. What if the client is not technical, doesn't really understand the essence of technical tech debt, and is still unwilling to remove technical tech debt? How to approach such a case?
So first of all, it's okay that customer doesn't understand the technical debt. It's totally fine that they don't understand it. They have specialists like us to give them a gist of what it is and what it makes the project, how it makes the project suffer. Yeah. So I would say, summarizing all that we said before, first of all, most probably you will need some senior people on your project to make customer understand technical debt in a way that everybody will understand. That's the first thing. If you don't have these people on your project, then look for another people inside the organization that can support you with that, no matter the cost. Yeah. And the other thing is talk money. Just talk money. It's so easy. Everything gets easy when we talk about money, because everybody can understand how much I will have to pay in money. Nobody cares about this man days or hours even, because nobody has this calculator in their head calculating the rates versus hours or man days. They just want to hear the total cost. Yeah. And if you have like two ways of doing something, this will cost you this and that. And if we will do this, in reality, you will pay this and that. I never saw a client that was immune to this way of work. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to present the impact of not removing the technical debt, the impact on money. Instead of like complaining about tech debt, you just need to present the impact and compare it with the cost with the payoff of investment. If you invest now the time, if you invest now time for removing for reducing the technical debt, then it will be easier, it will be cheaper to implement that particular feature, which you want to have it like in 3 months.
Yeah, the impact is the most important thing. The way how you will show the impact, you need to figure it out. Basically, there are many tools, there are many ways, there are many metrics, strategies. You need to discover which one works for a given client, for a given project.
But the money is the one which you start with.
Money is the crucial one. I haven't mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you of course may ask questions in comment section. As we are going for 1 hour, I will just start to answer your questions in the comment section. I will just jump into the next one, which is actually 2 questions. The first one is, as from a developer, I'm interested in these topics when dealing with legacy code and technical debt. What refactoring strategies have proven most effective in enhancing front-end performance and maintainability? I may ask this. I may answer this question. Basically, of course, it depends. Basically, what problem we are solving, and I guess that the problem is basically performance here. So we just need to basically discover what causes the problem, and we can use, for example, stronger pattern. Try to find a place that causes problems. Somehow to extract it from the rest of code and just change it only this one and measure whether it just solved the problem or not. Of course, this question is quite ambiguous, so I need more context to answer that one.
I think that even Lighthouse show you, if you have performance issue on the side, even Lighthouse show you what's wrong with the side. So you can try Lighthouse, which is built in Chrome, to analyze the page, and then maybe you will find one of the reasons. We had like in project I'm currently in, we had like issue with it was actually the grid, and the proper fix was just to replace the component with other one from the framework. So the complex React component was used. When you just switch to the other one, we just the lightweight one, it improved the performance drastically, and it was like for our job to solve the problem which customer had like for weeks. Yeah.
Okay, and the next question is about basically collaboration. And as a team member, I would like to ask how you facilitate collaboration between front-end and back-end teams to address technical debt comprehensively, ensuring a seamless user experience.
It's, if I may, it depends on the project size as well. I mean, if you have like 20, 30 people even working on a project, then it's totally different story than working with like 2 front-end and 2 back-end developers. Yeah, and the team size is 4 plus QA, let's say 5 people. Yeah, so when it comes to the big projects on scale, I would say that first of all, what is very important is to have sorry for that, to have some to have like a leadership team inside your project team. Let's say this is a solution architect, QA lead, BA, and then like at least 2 tech lead developers that will be making sure that technical debt is we have some way of working with it, and we are making sure that the knowledge is propagated inside the team. Yeah, this is what I would suggest when the team is big. But when it's smaller, then over to you guys, because actually I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know if okay, so maybe referring to the question, when it comes to the front and back end teams, I understand that there are separate teams which just work on the front and back end parts. So I would say it's a bigger project. But what do the job there is to have contract testing implemented, which ensures that the point of touch between front and backend is always the same, or you see those tests will show you if something has changed. So that's the thing. That's one thing which you should consider to make sure that front and backend always talk to each other. To have a contract testing which defines the agreed contract, and once it changes the test phase, and then you can before the release or before merging those two things, you can just show, okay, so that's the point of failure, and now we have to fix it. Now we have to fix it to make it proper, to make it working.
Yeah, just adding, it just is all about communication. I'm really fan of one next law. It's Conway's law, which states that teams are structured, not teams, but solutions are structured in a way how we communicate. And here is when the problem is we are, for example, refactoring something on backend, and front-end development team doesn't know about it. I had such a situation. It just basically means you do not communicate. And establishing communication in any way is just a solution. Of course, what matters is the exact tactic how we are communicating, but in fact, it's just implementation phase. Basically, all the problems are usually connected that someone just didn't mention that they are gonna change something, didn't plan it with this team. So you can jump sometimes into planning phase between, for example, leaders of these teams, and they just discover whether there are any stuff that is connecting them, any change that is connecting them, and they should handle it together. So yeah, simply speaking, it's always about communication. The next question is related to sometimes I see that level technical debt has a purpose and is justified, such as when we need to launch very fast to get ahead of the competition with some innovative solution. How can we determine the level at which this debt is manageable, and when we have crossed the line and it will be too hard to handle?
I think it's the best to ask the team. Ask the team what they think about that. Because the team is there are people who are working on a daily basis, and they clearly can show you what they can clearly tell you the point where they cannot stop, where they cannot no longer manage that part of code.
It's also it's impossible actually to determine it. I mean, of course, asking the team, it's all you need to do all the time, actually. However, imagine that you are going to the market with some product, and your team composition will change. People will be changing. So actually, there is no possible way to imagine you are going to work and asking the team on a daily, and they say, this is the day today. It's not manageable anymore. We need to do something with it. I mean, of course, this question makes sense, but again, we'll be coming back to measuring money-related stuff. Yeah, if the time to market is too long, etc. Yeah, so we never can say when we cross the line. It's what would be perfect would be if we are taking the debt, like we are aware that we are doing it because we want to achieve this and that, and like majority of companies is not doing any kind of retro. Yeah, let's imagine a startup going to the market and then coming back in a month and trying to figure out, okay, are we so bad that we need to do something right now or not? Yeah, most probably these questions will be never asked, or the person that will be asking them will no longer be a part of the team in 3 years when this technical debt would be actually chasing the team. Yeah, I just want to underline the proper perspective. Yeah, that when we are in a rush and we are actually doing stuff, we always tend to be a little we tend to be optimistic. Yeah, and when everybody is already tired from the project, which gives us around like 2-3 years, then you will most probably hear that it should be fixed in the first month when we released. Yeah, so this is this will depend a lot from the timing and from what is the team setup.
Yeah. Also, you know, when you cross the line, if the software makes you loss instead of gain. Yeah.
Yeah. But never will hurt to because we are talking a lot about communication, and actually here I can recommend Event Storming book by Brandolini, and he's actually very very clearly stating how to communicate. Yeah, because sometimes we use the same words but we have something different in mind. Yeah, reading this book actually helped me a lot to understand how complex communication is, and the system will be the mirror of this communication. Yeah, how bad we are in communicating stuff, most probably you will find it into the code in the code base. Yeah, so yeah, maybe not original, but communication is again a key for
Yeah,
everything.
but it's still an issue in project because like for projects which coming to break up, very often there are like people with experience. Okay, so we told them what you want, and after 3 months they delivered something which was completely different. Okay, so why didn't you talk to each other during the 3 months?
Because we were like, working.
Because they had
we
metrics.
told everything.
And then you hear the team that is always constantly complaining, we have too many meetings because we try to be on the same page. That's why. Yeah. That's why it's so hard. That's why a meeting is also a part of the job. Yeah. So whenever the team on the daily is stating, well, yeah, yesterday we had meetings. You did a great job, most probably, because you were trying to communicate effectively. Yeah. Of course, we can do a lot of stuff, not on the meetings, of course. But this is very important part of the job as well, because it is covering communication.
The beginning of the project, the first phase of the project is like 80% is talking, how we do things, how to solve that, what you need to solve, understand things, and yeah, exactly. That's it. You just need to go to the meetings and be active, listen, create meeting notes, and ask questions.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Communication over metrics, I would say. It's like we have number of tools that will help us, but it will help us, not just saying what to do. We need to interpret it. So metrics are useful, but we need to always to interpret it and then make decisions based on them. So if we have to decide whether managing tech debt impacts our new startup and how it impacts, we just need to understand what we are saying about what is the purpose, what we are changing in a way we are doing things, and so on. And of course, we are doing it among people trying to be on the same page and to give a direction where we're heading. So I think that we've covered lots of aspects today. I would ask you to one more thing to just summarize the topic of our. They just answered the question in a very short way, just like a pro tip: how to manage tech debt and deliver value amidst a tail light. What is the best pro tip to handle tech debt?
Just yeah, that's very hard to answer. Yeah, just do it. Yeah, just take care of it. Yeah, so how to manage the so communication. I think the communication with clients, with stakeholders, with people who own the software, the project. I think that was a key, just to be honest and communicate impact and talk with the language which is understandable of people who are making decisions.
I
Which
would
is
add,
funny.
yeah, exactly. I would also say, like, accept it, because this technical debt topic is very important, and it's great that we are talking about it and people actually want to find some solution, but solution will be fit to your project. Actually, we can't give you like a tip, like, hey, you need this, there's a checklist, you will do it and this will disappear. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, we don't know what customer you have, we don't know how much budget you have, we don't know what team members you have. So again, it will be, of course, communication, but it wouldn't hurt to understand the project from the business flow perspective, what we are actually doing, why, and what is bringing money, and what is the most crucial parts of this flow to happen, so money can be made. So this will help you a lot, like, to never forget about the business perspective, because polishing some stuff inside the code is not bringing any value to anybody. Sorry.
Yeah, and I would add that purpose is something that matters. We can have many ways of doing things, tools, metrics, and so on. But in fact, we need to remember that we are delivering a product. We are just doing it with a client in a team. So there are people, we need to communicate properly. We need to be on the same page. So communication is all what matters. Of course, there are many strategies how we can do it. We need to figure it out, because each client, each project, each team is different. It is not gonna be some kind of pattern that works each time. It never will be. Sometimes you can be in a few projects and everything works in the same manner and it's okay, but sometimes you will be with a client that is different, has a different product, and you need to figure it out, new things, how to deliver value. And I want that with just repeating Conway's law, but in reverse. So if you have a tech debt, it's usually because of pure communication. Somehow something is failing, and it may be in the tech team, it may be in the site, the business side, or project management, or whatever. But for sure, somewhere is problem. You need to just find it, figure it out, and just solve it, just to make communication better. And usually, it's what solves problems. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you guys for today. I think it was really, really, really lots of thoughts, aspects we covered, and I think that everyone could bring something from here. Thank you very much, and see you on next webinars. Bye.
Thank you.
It was a very nice talk. Bye.
Yeah, same here. Thank you. Bye.